All right. Well, she's back. Bigger, badder. Beast number two. Slightly different color scheme, but basically the same plane or the same model. She's a lot prettier than the other one, actually. And so this one has a slightly built, a slightly different bill, but I actually like this model better than the other one. A couple of issues though. I mean, the engine sounds pretty good. It's just as strong as ever. Thanks Basil for cleaning it out, saving it for me. Um, but she still has issues because this engine. I think it's something like 2.5, 2.7 horsepower. So it is. It's a beast. But I don't know that this frame is really built for this engine. The engine flies and the plane just comes along for the ride, pretty much. Um, but what the issue I had the first time was the muffler, primarily, was primarily with the muffler. The muffler actually shook itself loose when I was flying it the first time, increasing the RPMs, which is why it would not throttle down. Um, and also there's another issue. I'll talk about that later because I mentioned I had a nitro mentality. So because it wouldn't throttle down, I had a throttle cut, the throttle cut and a kill switch on it. But I'll go ahead and tell you what happened. When I realized I had a problem, it wouldn't throttle down. I tried to, I flipped the throttle cut, but it still wouldn't cut off because I had lost the muffler, the RPMs had increased. And I had mentioned that to Basil before I gave him the remote. I said I can't stop her. She won't. I can't cut her off. But I failed to mention, or it didn't occur to me that I did have an ignition kill switch on there too. So we could have brought her down because he actually landed her on the ground several times, but she was still moving too fast to stop, and he didn't want to nose her down into the ground, which probably would have saved her. But actually, there were a couple missed opportunities to save that bird by simply throwing the ignition kill switch. Okay, live and learn. What can I say? I fess up. My bad. That was my bad. But anyway, at any rate, I ran her out back at high RPMs with the muffler, and this time I used lots of Loctite and extra made the bolts extra tight. After about 10 minutes at high RPMs, the muffler shook itself off again. Okay, this was of course on the ground. That's obviously an issue with this plane. So I used more Loctite, and I made it even tight, the bolts even tighter. And I said, this muffler is not going to shake itself off this time. It didn't shake itself off. What happened was, because this part didn't come off, but it actually broke. So I guess the vibration at the high RPMs and I don't know, this isn't a great quality metal now that I look at it, but the muffler basically ripped itself apart because this engine is just a beast. That's all I can say. It's a beast. This, of course, is not the stock muffler. It's supposed to be a better muffler. I paid a premium for it. I don't know that I can get my money back at this point, but I'm not happy with this purchase. At any rate, I put the stock muffler back on, and I lots of Loctite again, and I made the bolts extra tight. Ran her at high RPM for about 10 minutes, and while this didn't break or fall off, it did shake itself loose. I mean, you can see the play in it, and this part shook itself loose. So that's going to be an ongoing problem with this plane. I'm going to again, put more Loctite on it and see how it fares. But I think after each flight, I'm going to have to be checking the muffler, and I probably won't be able to fly her that long, maybe 10 minutes max, before I need to land her and just make sure she's not shaking herself apart. Anyway, because this engine, like I mentioned, is just, I think it's 2.5, 2.7 horsepower, or something like that. So that's a lot of that's a lot of horses for this plane, for this bird. But I am happy to say that appears to be the only issue. I did reinforce the elevator, and I'll let you take a look at that later, a little later. But first, let's take a look inside. Okay, so as you can see, of course, the wood in here, I did pretty much soak it in epoxy. So that's a pretty much strong base that these servos are in here. See the connections that I use, so that's nothing. It's going to shake itself loose. As far as the connections, I did have the those little connection tabs. I'm not sure what they're called, but not only did I put those on, but after I put them on, I wrapped it as well. So that's not going to shake itself loose. So, and I also did that for the battery connections as well. So that won't be an issue. So I think we're good here. As far as the elevator, I did reinforce the connections there. I did put pins. I don't know if you can see the little pins I put in there, kind of like little rivets, and that's to hold the elevator as well. So under the the speed and the torque of this plane, I won't lose or don't intend to lose my elevator in the process. Basil thinks that that's what happened with the first bird, because he was under the impression he still had signal but had lost the elevator. So I think either that is what happened there, they came off there, or something inside shook loose with respect to the elevator. But of course, after you saw the plane, after the plane hit the ground, there was no way to really know for sure. So, and again, this is the muffler. This shook loose right there, and that shook loose right there. And again, I did use plenty of Loctite. Obviously not enough, but I'm tempted to epoxy this thing on here, but that probably would not be a good idea. But I can guarantee if I did, it would not come off. Okay, auto cut works. All right, the muffler's still solid. All right, well, you heard it, you saw it. Muffler is solid. This bird is ready for the field.
The Space Ranger is always ready for a mission.
Buzz, man, dude.
I am Buzz
Don't even
Lightyear.
think about it.
I come in peace.
You're still on probation.
Activate laser.
Oh, really?
Triggering laser.
I thought you came in peace. And stop trying to take your remote ID ankle bracelet off.
There's a mission in uncharted space.
And wipe that silly grin off your face. A mission in uncharted space. You really are crazy.